Have you ever said yes when every part of you wanted to scream no? Maybe you agreed to help someone who never helps you back, or stayed quiet just to avoid disappointing someone. And afterward, you felt that familiar knot in your stomach, part guilt, part resentment, part confusion. Why is it that even when we know we're allowed to say no, we still feel bad for doing it? In this video, we're going to talk about why that happens, the real psychological reasons so many of us feel guilty for setting boundaries, and how to start saying no in a way that feels calm, self respecting, and free from shame. As someone who studied relational trauma and emotional conditioning, I've seen how this guilt isn't about weakness, it's about all survival patterns. So stay with me until the end because we'll explore a simple mindset shift that helps you release guilt and start saying no with peace instead of panic. First up on the list, guilt was once a form of safety. Let's start here. Guilt didn't come from nowhere. If you grew up in a home where love was conditional, where approval was earned through compliance, then guilt became your emotional alarm system. Saying no as a child might have meant rejection, conflict, or punishment. So your nervous system learned, if I please, I'm safe. If I say no, I'm at risk. Now, as adults, that same wiring still fires, even when the danger is gone. Let's pause here for a second. If this feels familiar, take a breath. You're not weak for feeling guilty, you're just conditioned for safety. Here's a healing reframe for you. Guilt doesn't always mean you've done something wrong. Sometimes guilt just means you're breaking an old rule that never should have existed. 2. Guilt is how control is maintained. Many people, especially those who benefit from our compliance, learn to use guilt as a form of emotional control. Think about it. After everything I've done for you, or I guess I just can't count on you. Those statements aren't about love, they are about leverage. Here's the psychology behind it. When someone uses guilt to control you, they are outsourcing their discomfort onto you. You start carrying their emotions so they don't have to. And the more empathy you have, the more susceptible you are to it. Here's a healing practice for you. When someone tries to guilt you, try quietly saying to yourself, their feelings are theirs to manage. My boundary is mine to honor. You feel the guilt rise, but remember, guilt is just the echo of your past training, not proof that you're wrong. 3. We mistake guilt for morality. This one runs deep. We're taught that good people are selfless, that being kind means saying yes. So when we say no, it feels like we're being unkind, selfish, or cold. But here's what most people don't realize. Kindness without boundaries isn't kindness, it's compliance. Here's the psychology behind it. When guilt and goodness get tangled together, every act of self-respect feels like betrayal. So try this reframe. Boundaries don't make you less kind. They make your kindness sustainable. They allow you to give freely instead of resentfully. So next time, try saying this. I want to help, but I need to take care of myself first. That's not selfish. That's emotional maturity. 4. Your body remembers the cost of saying no. Sometimes, guilt isn't even a thought, it's a feeling. A rush of anxiety, tightness in the chest, a pit in your stomach. That's your body remembering the last time you disappointed someone, it didn't feel safe. You might have been yelled at, ignored, or made to feel like you were the problem. So your body learned. Next time, just agree. Stay quiet. Avoid the reaction. But here's the healing truth. You can teach your body that saying no is safe now. Here's a practice I want you to try. Whenever you feel guilt or tension after saying no, pause and breathe. Place a hand on your chest and remind yourself, I'm safe. I'm allowed to protect my peace. You're retraining your nervous system, one boundary at a time. 5. Guilt fades, but resentment grows. Let's be honest, guilt is uncomfortable, but resentment is corrosive. When we constantly say yes to avoid guilt, we slowly abandon ourselves. And that abandonment turns into quiet anger towards others and eventually towards ourselves. Here's what I remind my clients. Short-term guilt is the price of long-term peace. When you choose guilt now, you prevent resentment later. And with practice, guilt doesn't last as long, but the peace does. Here's a bonus tip for you that perhaps we don't talk about enough in society nowadays. The goal isn't to never feel guilty again. It's to feel guilty and not let that guilt decide for you. Guilt doesn't disappear because you've healed. It disappears because you've learned to trust yourself more than your conditioning. You don't overcome guilt by convincing yourself you're right. You overcome it by realizing you're free. Remember, you're not a bad person for setting boundaries. You're a person finally learning what self-respect feels like. If this resonated, comment below, I'm reclaiming my peace. And remember, you deserve calm, not chaos. Remember to subscribe for weekly insights to help you rebuild your confidence, self-worth, and inner peace. One boundary at a time. See you in my next video.